This is our Week 6 weekly recap. I have three main areas I'd like to go over with you this week. The first one is interactive reading and writing answers. In your reading and writing Padlet, I really loved your answers on how you saw interactive reading and writing from that video. A lot of you had positive feedback about what you saw in the video and seemed confident that it was a positive learning strategy in the classroom. We had several different questions, though, that you posted, and I'd like to give answers to those questions. So the first one was that the teacher in the video was emphasizing punctuation and grammar and capitalization as she wrote interactively with her students. And this is important with the age of learner in the video. But the question was made, at what age is this inappropriate because our learners may be too young? I would say it is probably something you want to follow the video model for in kindergarten, first and second grade. But anything below kindergarten or even early in the kindergarten year, you're going to want to model capitalization, grammar, and punctuation, but you don't want to spend as much time on it. Again, one of the things we learned through this week on emergent literacy was the skills emerge when the students are ready, and we want it to be a natural process. So by constantly modeling and occasionally talking about it, that's where they become aware, and then the skill can emerge when they're ready. The other thing is with grammar, if you're doing the language experience approach, you do not fix grammar because you're the scribe. But if you're doing interactive reading and writing, you are the scribe, but you're also working as a team. So in that case, you may want to rephrase something grammatically and explain to the boys and girls why we do that. With the language experience approach, which is another time where the teacher will be the scribe in front of the class, you would not change the words. You would just write the child's words. The next question, and several of you had this question, was how do we integrate English language learners into our interactive writing process? And I think this is fairly easy in the respect that the teacher is still the main leader of this activity, and it is low risk, and it does not require the students to write independently. So a lot of times with an English language learner, when I'm having, actually with all my learners, when we're doing interactive writing, I'll have a think buddy, and so they're sitting hip to hip or shoulder to shoulder with someone, and when I throw something out to them about what we're going to say or do next, they turn to their buddy and they discuss, and then they share. And so that would give a little more support to our culturally diverse learners, our English language learners, and even some of our students with learning disabilities. Again, it is low risk, and because you're collaborating together, there's no right or wrong answer. We just kind of go on the fly with these activities. So it takes away that fear of making a mistake, and sometimes the sillier the answer, the better. So most of the time, students are successful in sharing this. The other thing I want to point out is, and goes along with a question asked about participation with struggling or shy students. The classroom climate that you create will allow for success in this activity. If your classroom is conducive to respecting one another's answers, listening to each other speak, taking turns, people, even shy students, will feel the comfort of that environment and the encouragement of their peers and participate. And also when we have those learners that may be a little more reluctant, having a partner or a small group within this whole group activity will alleviate some of that stress. Then they can participate, but they might not have to speak all the time. The other positive is if you're writing interactively about something, you're going to be focusing in on one main topic. And we learned when we work with culturally diverse or linguistically diverse or even learning disabled students that the more that we have repetition of vocabulary and topic, the more comfortable they are. And so this experience allows for that as well. The last question I have Actually, I have two more. Second to the last question is on the age of the learner for this. I kind of hit that in the beginning. We can use this with any emergent learner. So you can use this with as low as 3 and 4-year-olds, and it's going to look a little different because you're not going to be focusing in on the conventions of writing as much and the spelling. But you can be interactively writing stories with them at a very young age. Keep in mind, to keep it developmentally appropriate, you have to really watch the amount of time. You're going to work in very short increments with young learners. What you saw in the video was primarily for kindergarten and first grade. Second graders do like to write interactively, but they don't need to do it to have the skills emerge unless you're modeling something the higher level. Typically, this is something you'd see in a kindergarten and first grade classroom. Now, our last question is, when we're doing this kind of interactive reading and writing, is it more important to let the story just evolve as the students see fit, or should be more teacher-led? And should the teacher make sure that everyone is a contributor? So the first part is, this is something that the students will take ownership in. So you want their words to be important. And so the teacher is the guide. She keeps them on track. But really, the story should evolve as the class sees fit. And so it may seem slightly off track. And if you're writing with kindergartners and first graders, and you've introduced them to one of our writing components of focus, then you can say, I think we might be a little out of focus, or you could even question them, is that focused? And get them back on track. But really, what they say should be shared in the story. As often as you do this, I don't think that everyone has to take a turn every time you write. Sometimes this will be done in a short 5-10 minute period, and there's no way that everyone would have a turn to share at that point. And so just rotate throughout the classroom with different people sharing each time you do this activity. The other thing that I mentioned is they could be working in pairs or in small groups within your whole group, and that will give more people's ideas the ability to be shared, even if each individual does not speak. So I hope that gives you some insight. They were fantastic questions, and I really like that you're thinking outside of the presentation to come up with things that you still want to learn. Moving on to number 2 in our recap, I also had you commenting on your authentic reading and writing activities that you saw and enjoyed, and also that you would advocate for. And so you also had great responses on this, and see how important it is to authentically read and write with emergent learners. Here are a few of my favorites. Cooking and recipe writing, making grocery lists, labeling things around them with signs, reading cereal boxes, writing letters to people, having a word-rich environment where reading's all around them, incorporating reading and writing through art such as Play-Doh and shaving cream. Those are all great developmentally appropriate ways to have students reading and writing authentically. All right, number 3. The first one under number 3 is Pinterest. We are in our 3rd or 4th week of Pinterest boards, and I just wanted to share with you that Pinterest boards are not due until the end of the semester. You have a Pinterest assignment at the end of every presentation, and please build your board of 10 pins or more each week. At the end of the semester, though, I will ask you to Dropbox me your address, basically just the web address to your boards. And that way, over the course of the semester, you'll be able to add more to each board as you see great ideas. That's the neat thing about Pinterest, is once you're on it, you find things that you're not even looking for. And so you may start with 10 pins on early literacy or 10 pins on phonemic awareness, and soon you'll have more very, very easily. So I don't want to see your boards until the very end of the semester. But please don't hold off doing them. Please add your new board each week with your 10 pins. As for your literature sharing, I noticed that you're getting better each week at listening to that story and coming up with activities that really follow along with the theme or the content of the book. Now that we've covered phonemic awareness and phonics and word identification, you can get a little more specific with your ideas in those areas. I know we really hit phonics hard, but we haven't talked much about phonemic awareness. So if you can think of a phonemic awareness activity just to use with some of the words in the book, throw that out there. Same with phonics. Now you know a little more phonics skills, and now you know what word ID truly means. And so you'll be able to kind of jump into that. Keep up the good work, though, in your sharing. I enjoy reading them very much. And the last thing I want to share with you is those participation points Dropbox folders. I feel like we're finally getting in the groove on our participation and our discussions. It took a lot of time, I know, on both my part and yours, but I'm trying to be more detailed on the weekly assignment slide, which is the last slide in your presentation, on exactly what I need from you and where you will find it and I will find it. I'm also labeling what I need you to turn in and labeling the week number on the weekly participation Dropbox folders. So if you kind of feel lost as to where that might be once in a while, look for the week that we're in, and then when you open the Dropbox, it should tell you what goes in there. I hope this helps you. I too am learning on teaching in the virtual world, and I'm trying hard to make the most about our learning together. And also, I need to see those assessments to know what you're learning each week, just like a classroom teacher knows it's important to assess their students often. So it was a great week. I look forward to you seeing week 7's presentation, and moving forward, there is a new project being introduced in week 7. Make sure you watch the introduction video coming up next.